Your Honor, as far as a factual basis in speaking of this case stems from the August 10th fatal shooting in 2021 of the victim, Olohiye. She was just 18 years old at the time, getting ready to begin her life, a scholar in every right, and a friend at the time of Miss Hilena Misganaw. It was on that day that Miss Misganaw was playing with a handgun while being filmed by Miss Olohiye with a cell phone. It was at that time that she was fatally struck in the face by a bullet, one shot, which took her life. She was transported to Grady from the incident location, which was at 530 East Paces Ferry Road, Northeast, in Atlanta, Georgia, in Fulton County. She succumbed to her injuries finally when she reached Grady Hospital. Multiple individuals called 911 stating that they had heard a gunshot and immediately after women screaming. On the scene, they located Miss Misganaw's Toyota Corolla with a large blood stain on the ground next to the side of the vehicle, and marks corresponding with the movement of Olohiye's body by the EMTs, as confirmed by a subsequent meeting with the EMTs and emergency medical services. A cell phone with a bullet hole in it, corresponding with the injury that Olohiye suffered, was located on the ground next to that blood stain. It was on the scene that the police were able to interview both Miss Misganaw and another witness, Bethlehem, Bathleham, Mekonnen, Mekonnen, both who remained on scene and spoke to the police on multiple occasions. It was Miss Mekonnen who reported that she had been with her friend, Miss Misganaw, and the victim, Olohiye, and it was at that location that they were there to meet with another group of boys, which included Mr. Hassan. It was in the parking lot that she proceeded to sit in the front passenger seat of Miss Misganaw's vehicle. She knew that Olohiye and Hilena were outside of the vehicle, but she was distracted as she was putting in her nose ring, which officers made note of as they were on scene. It was shortly after that she heard something about a gun, and then shortly after she heard a gunshot. It was then that she fled on foot, but returned to the scene, staying in that area as soon as she saw the police arrive. She did approach them, did recount that following story. She also called 911, which tracked with the phone records. It was on scene that they also spoke with Miss Misganaw. At that point, she reported that Olohiye, her friend, was taking a video of her, and she mentioned that the gun that she was using in reference to create a video regarding a stolen wallet, that gun was provided by a man named Mo, that he was driving a sedan that included two other individuals. But she admittedly said that she shot her. Yeah, this is my fault. I shot her. I don't care for a lawyer. I'll just go to jail. I shot her, which she repeated on the scene and in the patrol car, and then later when she went to the headquarters of APD as well. Surveillance in the parking deck was reviewed. It did not show the shooting itself. Unfortunately, it stopped short after seeing Miss Misganaw kind of back up in between cars, and you see Olohiye holding a cell phone, and then they disappear out of the view until we see a vehicle speed off, that vehicle being tied to Mr. Hassan, and the different bystanders who called 911 and remained on scene. Your Honor, it was through Detective Hogan, the lead detective, that he was able to repeatedly contact Miss Misganaw as well as Bethlehem, Miss McConan, and in speaking to them, and obtaining their phone records, obtain information for a Mohammad. That Mohammad was then connected to Mohamed Hassan. He pulled a photograph of Mohamed Hassan that was connected to a phone number. Both Miss Misganaw and Miss McConan, once receiving a photograph of that individual, confirmed that that was the individual they knew as Mo. It was later that Detective Hogan attempted to talk to Mr. Hassan, and did so unsuccessfully. However, Mr. Hassan was arrested for the charges. He turned himself in once his attorney was contacted, and the case proceeded from there. Your Honor, this is nothing short than an absolute tragedy that was created by nothing less than stupidity on the parts of two different individuals. I have the parents of Lohi here on the Zoom, and I know that they would like to address you, Your Honor, and I suspect that they will express that this is not what they see as justice, that they do not agree with this sentence, and I want them to be able to do so, and I'm asking as the state for them to be able to do so. I cannot, as the state, give them an explanation as to why something of this magnitude occurred. I don't think an explanation that would ever suffice on why they lost their child that day could exist. And unfortunately, with the evidence that we have, it is consistent with this being a reckless act, but an unintentional killing. However, Your Honor, they are still sitting here without their child, and there are two families that, regardless of the sentence today, get to see theirs. Regardless, at the end of 3 years or 8 years, get to see their child every day, get to speak with their child, get to learn about the experience they go through in college and working and jobs, and maybe getting married one day, maybe having their own children, and having to have a worry every day that their child may end up in this same position off of somebody making a video about a wallet, off of somebody having a loaded firearm and using it like a toy. So I hope that sits with both of the defendants in this case, but I want to turn it over to the family and allow them to speak to you, Your Honor, because I think that's the least I can do in my position with the state.
Yes, ma'am. Mom and Dad, I would try to, how do you pronounce your last name?
Olohiye Ehimiaghe.
Okay, do you mind if I just stick with Mom and Dad?
That's fine.
My accent may really mess that up.
No, that's all right. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Mom. I'll hear from you.
We would have loved to be there, but we weren't able to because, again, everything's very fast in Georgia. So we weren't able to come into court this morning, but we thank you for the opportunity to speak. I kind of wrote down my thoughts last night so that I don't go off, because there's a tendency to get very emotional when you talk about something like this. We have the opportunity to speak for our daughter Lohi, who is in here, to speak for herself. We first want to share a little about who Lohi was. She was our youngest daughter, and she was the sister to our two older children. Lohi was sweet. She was kind. She was loving. She was generous. She was beautiful. She was intelligent and full of life. She was a friend, a confidant, a leader, an exemplary role model in school and in her community. She was a bridge builder and an avid advocate for fairness and equity, always willing to help and stand up for the struggling and the voiceless. Lohi was a proud alum of Phillips Andover Academy in Massachusetts, where she was co-president of her quad, among many of the leadership positions she held over the years. Her funeral, which was over summer break, because she was killed on August 10, was on the 15th of August. It was held in Georgia because we didn't want to have to move the body all the way back home. That funeral was attended by scores of her schoolmates from across the country who heard about what had happened. Her head of school and several members of faculty. The school subsequently, at their own instance, conducted another funeral on campus to give students an opportunity to mourn and pay their respect. As we speak, Phillips Academy Andover has installed memorial items on campus in honor of her passing. This just speaks to the kind of person she was and the kind of impact she had everywhere she went. She was going to matriculate at Yale University 2 weeks before she was tragically killed while visiting one of the accused. She would have been entering her senior year of college in September 2024. Words cannot sufficiently articulate what her absence means to us as a family, and no second passes without us feeling the weight of her loss. Your Honor, it might interest you to know that when we first heard of the incident, we had absolutely no intention of pursuing legal action because, as unbelievable as it was, we were told that this was a horrible accident that happened between two friends. However, once we realized that the defendants were definitely concealing things and they were being uncooperative and the things were missing from the scene and the identities of the people on the scene was and is still being withheld, that ruled out the possibility that this was an accident. The defendants have, without a doubt, not acted in good faith. Why do I say this? Because for people who claim this was an accident, this incident was an accident, the immediate reactions to her shooting was suspicious and appeared pre-planned. We had simple questions that remain unanswered till this day, or conflicting testimonies where answers were provided. We had simple questions like, who was Mo? What was his relationship with Hilena and with Bethlehem? Who invited him over? Why were they there at that parking garage? The fleeing of the scene of the crime, the refusal to identify other participants, and the missing weapon have given us cause to suspect foul play. Now, I'm happy to shed more light if you want me to do that. Everything happened within 2 minutes of arriving at the arrival of the boys at the parking garage. None of the witnesses called 911 until later. The fact that our daughter had made what we now see as a distress call just before this incident also suggests that there was foul play. We believe that reasonable conclusions can be drawn from behavioral patterns and circumstantial evidence. The actions of the defendants in this case do not align with those of innocent parties. We believe that since it is not in question that the defendants killed our daughter, the court should speak for those who have no voice. While a jail term will not bring back our daughter, it will send a message to the defendants about the severity of the action, the loss, the harm their reckless acts have caused, and hopefully deter them from similar actions in future. Something probation can never do, never. The records should also stand as they would serve as a warning for people to deal cautiously with the defendants in future. If we had known the reckless nature of Mo, for instance, as well as his association with Hilena, we would have kept our daughter away from them and she could have been here with us today. It's only fair that the accused serve a minimum jail sentence of 2 years in addition to the years of probation being proposed by the prosecutor. It is our honest opinion and belief that a probation-only sentence is a slap on the wrist and is tantamount to inflicting the wound again and stabbing it repeatedly. That's exactly how we feel, because their lives are laid out in front of them, going on. We don't have the chance to do anything with our Olohiye. We earnestly seek to have some real justice to lighten the burden of this irreparable loss. Like I said earlier, a jail term will not bring back our Lohi, which is what we would 100% want. If we had a chance, we want her back. We would want her back. We cannot have that. But there has to be consequence for the loss of a brilliant light that was quenched needlessly. The only account we have is the account of the accused. And all the questions to dig further, to get the truth, have been stalled. We've been stonewalled. We ask for justice. That's all.
Dad, thank you. Mom or Dad, tell me one thing. What did your daughter want to be when she graduated?
Our daughter was going to be a physician. We have two children, every one of them. Our first child is a physician, our second one is a dentist, and she was going to be a physician. She wanted to be a dermatologist.
And this is her picture as your background?
Yes.
Well, she was an absolutely beautiful girl, and I'm sure she made an impact. Her short life made an impact on everyone that she touched, and it sounds that way with her, the funeral or celebration of life that you had. So you should always be proud of and keep her close. Is there anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else? Anything from the defense, Mr. Hall?
Yes, I would like, Your Honor, to hear a couple of different things. I'll speak briefly myself, and then Ms. Mohamed, which is Mr. Hassan's sister, would like to address the court on his behalf, and then Mr. Hassan also would like to address the court.
Okay.
So, just by way of background, I will tell you he is now 21 years old. At the time of the incident, he was 18 years old. Everyone agrees this is a terrible tragedy. No one thinks anything other than that. After he was contacted by the police about being involved in this case, he turned himself in. I personally spoke to Detective Hogan, and he told him have him turned in by the next day, and we turned him in ASAP right away. Mr. Hassan is, this has had a huge impact upon him, and something that he'll stay with him for the rest of his life. And I think you'll find those reflected in his words when he speaks to the court briefly. It is a negotiated plea. This is a matter that me and the state and Mr. Cromwell have spent a lot of time working through a lot of the different allegations and facts and evidence and different positions to arrive at this point. And so ultimately, I'm going to ask Your Honor to accept the negotiated plea tendered. I would like you to hear from Ms. Mohamed, if Your Honor would.
Is she on the Zoom?
Yeah, I have her right here in my conference room. I didn't want to bring her on the screen without asking the court's permission, but she's right here.
Okay, that's fine. If she could.
Yeah, I'm gonna have her step over here. Just stand up for a minute and she can sit. Ms. Mohamed, if you could just speak right into the.
Good morning.
Good morning. If you'd raise your right hand, ma'am. All right, you swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes.
All right, if you can put your hand down, if you would state and spell your name for the court reporter, please.
My name is Mohamed. My first name is spelled Ifrah. Last name is Mohamed.
All right, go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Mohamed. I am the older sister of Mohamed Hassan. Having known him his entire life, I can affirm that Mohamed is a kind and non-violent person. Mohamed has always been a person of kindness and compassion. From his early years, he has shown genuine empathy towards others. His nature is one of caring and understanding, which makes this situation all the more heartbreaking. The recent incident, which resulted in the tragic loss of Olohiye, has profoundly affected Mohamed. He is deeply remorseful and devastated by what has happened. In our numerous conversations, Mohamed has openly shared his overwhelming sadness and regret for the part he played in this tragedy. This tragedy has had a profound impact on him and will forever change him, driving him to reflect deeply and strive to be the best person he can be. On behalf of my family, I would like to extend our deepest apologies to Olohiye's family. We are truly sorry for the immense pain and suffering you are enduring.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And if Your Honor would hear briefly from Mr. Hassan, please.
Sure. Go ahead, sir.
So I would like to just say that I apologize to the family of the victim. That day, I truly panicked because of the devastating moment that happened. It's been traumatizing me for the last 3 years. If I could only go back in time, I would do that day completely differently. Olohiye's death will be with me forever since that day. And it is truly devastating to the family and also to me. And it's just something that can never leave my mind. And I just want to sincerely apologize to the family of Olohiye and for your loss.
All right. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Hall?
No, Judge.
Mr. Cromwell?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Basically, we've all said that this is one of these tragedies. You just go, what has gone on? My client, Hilena, was a very good friend of the deceased. They were in school together up there. They were visiting, and this was it was a horrible accident. I'm going to have her actually give a talk to the parents to address them. And I want to say something to the parents. I had instructed my client not to call. And so and we apologize if that seemed sort of cold and callous, but it was something because of what's going on. I had instructed her not to reach out. Despite that, there was some attempts to contact, because as you can tell from what Kelsey O'Connor said, my client was she was ready just to end. I mean, she lost a sister. She feels horribly upset about it. And to address another point up and by the parents, my client worked very diligently with me and Detective Hogan to find Mo. She didn't leave the scene. She was devastated. We can't bring back the daughter of this beautiful, beautiful daughter. I'm trying to have my client have something in her life. She's right now attempting to get into the medical field herself. And so, and based on what has happened, again, as Mr. Hall said, we worked very hard, had meetings with the prosecutor, had gone through every bit of evidence, and we would ask the court to consider this plea agreement so my client can honor her friend and get into the medical field. I'm going to have Hilena now give a statement to the court and the parents. Hilena, go ahead.
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. There is nothing I can say to comfort her family or to make up for what I did that day. Lohi was my best friend. I will never have a friend like her to this day. There will never be someone like her. Everything her mother said about her is true. We were roommates at Andover, and we served on councils together. We played sports together. We did everything together. Everyone knew us as being like two peas in a pod. And it was the worst thing I've ever done. I wish I could take it back. I wish I could trade places with her. I felt this way since the day it happened. I still feel that way today. And I only ask for leniency from the court so I can make my life worth something. I want to do something purposeful. I want to help people because I've hurt people. And I have to carry that every day. But that burden is nothing compared to what her parents deal with every day. And I'm so sorry. Mr. and Mrs. Ehimiaghe, I'm so sorry. And I apologize, Your Honor. Yeah, so I want to pursue being a physician assistant. Like I said, I want to help people and make my life worth more than my mistake. And I want to do something that honors Lohi one day. whether that's charity. She was a charitable person. She was a kind person. And I want them to know it was an accident. And I wish I had known that this is how you all felt. I would have reached out or just done anything to show my cooperation and my willingness to get to the bottom of this. So, yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Mom and Dad, go ahead. You got the last word.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
As much as we would like to, I mean, we've heard all that everyone has said, but the facts still remain the fact. When this all happened, we reached out to Helena's parents and asked to have a meeting because we just wanted some type of closure. We wanted to just hear what happened. And that's probably one of the worst days of my life beyond the day when Lohi was killed. Because here's Hilena, who had welcomed into my home times unnumbered, who had reached out to her mom before I let Lohi come over to see her, to say, make sure everything's fine. We had a meeting with Helena's parents, and we were being stonewalled. We were being stonewalled when we asked simple questions. We asked questions about Mo. Can we get his number? Just his number. But Helena's attorney says she cooperated with Detective Hogan. They had to be subpoenaed to get his number. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? We didn't see any cooperation at all. All we needed was the truth. All I needed was the truth. That's all we asked for. Just tell us what happened. So it's been 3 years, and I hear what they say, what they've said. But do I believe? Not after all the things that we've gone through, not after the stonewalling, not after when Lohi was lying cold on the ground, her mom was texting me and asking if I'd heard about the girls, where they were, when she knew that Lohi was dead. How can I take all these things in good faith? How? When someone's trying to take advantage of me, it's hard. It's really hard to take all this. Thank you.
All right. Madam Prosecutor. Any-
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
All right, anything else from Mr. Harris, Mr. Cromwell?
Nothing on behalf of Mr. Hassan.
Mr. Cromwell?
Nothing on behalf of Miss Misganaw.
So, Madam Prosecutor, the other two people, have they been identified, or is that something that's still under investigation?
Your Honor, they have not been identified. We have gone through phone records as we have it from Mr. Hassan. We have attempted any facial recognition software, which is not doable in checking with the Secret Service because of the angle that we have in the parking garage. So unless Mr. Hassan decides to share that information today, we do not have that information or any leads there.
Mr. Hassan, Mr. Hall?
Yeah,
Yes, Your Honor.
sure.
Mr. Hassan hasn't been willing to share the information?
I actually have no problem with sharing the information from exactly what happened that day. To the family of Olohiye.
Tell them the names of the two people. That's what they're asking for.
The names of those two people, they were in the vehicle. In the camera, you could see that their names were Hamza Bashir and Yasir. I'm not sure his last name, but that day, as you could see on the camera, they never stepped out of the vehicle. I was the only person in the vehicle when I looked out the window and I seen Hilena rack the gun and shoot it. So that's actually the moment, that's the mistake that I made, that I'm also in front of the court pleading guilty, was me panicking at that moment, picking up the gun and running. But the two people that were in the vehicle, they never came out of the car. So I could even say to you, they never seen it. They were actually shocked when I came in the vehicle and said what I seen. But I was so in fear that I still ran. I should have stayed. That's something I still regret to this day, but I didn't stay because I was in fear. And I threw that gun away. That's like maybe even 1 hour after that situation happened. I didn't even know until that night, because of the news, I found out that she passed away. So like that's the night my everything scarred me from that moment. From that moment.
Mr. Hassan, you threw a gun away where?
I just threw it over in the water, just somewhere nearby. I don't even remember exactly where. It was 3 years ago, but I just remember holding that gun in my hand. I threw it immediately. And the two people in the car, they were my friends at the time. I just told them to drive away because of the fear that basically was rushing through my mind. My heart was racing. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I didn't stay to find out, and that's what I'm taking responsibility for, because she didn't deserve that. And I truly, truly feel like very sorry for the family that day, because she didn't deserve to die that way, and it was wrong.
Your Honor, Mohammed drove into the garage.
I wasn't driving, I swear, Your Mother.
Okay. So, I mean, the prosecutor's writing down the information of the other people, and they have investigators that can look into it, okay?
And Mr. Hall, if you could, I don't know, well, Mr. Hall or Mr. Hassan, can you give me the spelling of the names?
Yeah.
I have Yasir as one.
Tell you what I'll do is I will, after this
Email them over to me.
meeting, I will email them over to you so you have them in writing from me with any contact information that we have. We don't have much, but the information we have, I'll send to you as an officer of the court.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, Madam Court Reporter, I will send it to you as well.
Okay. So anything else, Mr. Hall?
I apologize. I didn't realize it's for the court reporter. Yeah, I will. Sorry. I'll do two things. I will get the correct spellings for purposes of the transcript. Additionally, I'll get information to Ms. Jones-Connor for her to do whatever she wants to do with it. So nothing further, Judge.
Okay. Okay, is that it from the state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so Mom and Dad, it's my understanding, and I spoke with some, I'm filling in for Judge Schwall today. The state and both parties have worked hard at negotiating this plea. It's my understanding at first this was charged as a misdemeanor. And,
That's correct.
and then it was elevated up to the felonies. Am I right, Madam Prosecutor?
Yes, Your Honor, and I will point that that is partly due to Lohi's family. Her parents have been adamantly involved in trying to get to the bottom of what happened since it went to the state prosecutor's office and then came over to us.
And Mom and Dad, there's absolutely no words that I could say, the state could say, other than I can ask the state that if you have any questions and if she's able to answer them now that she answered them. I don't know if there had been video of exactly what happened, if even that would have answered all of your questions. I don't think there's ever an answer for this other than complete stupidity. Because now this gun, if we take Mr. Hassan for what he says, is in a creek or a river. Maybe it hit this bank. So now it could be in the hands of someone else that could go and do something else with it. So, you know, there could be more that stem from this. I cannot bring your daughter back. And there are so many things that I would like to change. I'm not even sure what people were thinking. I know that when you rack a gun, you can tell there's a bullet that goes in the chamber, and a loaded gun is heavier than an unloaded gun. What you were doing with guns anyway is beyond me. And now someone's life has been taken. And that is something that both of you as defendants have to live with for the rest of your lives. Which is not anything close to Mom and Dad losing this beautiful daughter that we see behind them. And I don't know what fixes things like this, prison, probation, I just don't know. But the thing is, Mr. Hall, too, when your client travels, notify probation, he has to get permission from probation,
Yes, Judge.
okay? Because you don't just tell them and whatever, and, I hope that your grandmother is better served, but yeah, you have to get permission from probation because I'm hoping that you're going to do what you're supposed to do, but in the event that you don't, they can tell you, no, you cannot travel. How many days did they spend in jail? Do you know, Madam Prosecutor?
I can get the exact number, Your Honor.
2 days for
Two.
Misganaw, 3 days for Mr. Hassan.
2
That's
days and
correct.
3 days. Mr. Hassan, you were at Rice Street,
Yes, ma'am.
and Ms. Misganaw, I guess you were at ACDC?
I'm not sure. I
Oh,
started
okay.
county headquarters and they moved me.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna accept this negotiated plea, and, Mom and Dad, do you want Miss Misganaw to not have any contact? And I am not, I've been a criminal defense attorney, so I understand Mr. Cromwell's position, Mr. Hall's position, them saying, don't reach out to the two of you. I understand that you think that maybe they didn't want to, possibly they did, but they were trying their client's interest, obviously not knowing where this would go. Do you want them to not have contact with you? Sometimes healing is when you're able to sit down face to face with the offender and say things that you need to say and maybe ask questions to get the answers? Or would you like me to put as part of their probation that neither of them can reach out to you?
Can you give me a minute to talk to my husband about it?
Sure. Or if you have their information, we can also allow you that if you want to talk out to them, that contact be initiated by you. How about that?
Okay.
So, Mr. Hall, Mr. Cromwell, if y'all both, if their contact information can be provided to the mom and dad here, that way, and Ms. Misganaw and Mr. Hassan, what I would expect in the event that they do call is that you just answer their questions. I mean, they're not, maybe give them everything, which will never be enough that that happened that day. Okay, and that way we don't have to worry about you. So when they feel like it, they can reach out to you if they both decide to. Okay.
Yes, Your
And,
Honor.
and Your Honor, Miss Misganaw would, I was the one, again, keeping her from doing it, but she would love to be able to speak and talk to the parents.
Right. So, so we'll let mom and dad decide when they want to reach out to her. Okay. I'll accept this plea as freely and voluntarily. And so what we'll do on there is any contact with the victim's family will be initiated by the victim's family. Does that make sense, Madam Probation Officer? So no contact unless initiated by the victim's family.
Yes, Your Honor.
I guess that's a more clear. Yes, ma'am, Mom.
I wanna, did you just say you're accepting the plea?
Yes, ma'am. I spoke with Judge Walton in his office, and
what exactly for my better understanding, because I know after Miss Corner read her offer, she said something about first offender. What does that mean? Is this going to be sealed?
Madam Prosecutor,
No, Your
And
Honor.
okay. And number two, I thought you said something about did you say 3 years for both of them? That's what I heard.
So there is a behavioral incentive date that comes with probation. And so if at 3 years for Miss Misganaw, she has adhered to all of the factors of probation, she would then go to a different part of her sentence. It would not be reporting to probation, all of that.
What is the sentence? Can you please tell me what the sentence is for both of them?
So for Miss Misganaw, it's 8 years to be served on probation. That 8 years does have a 3-year behavioral incentive date, which is what I was just explaining.
Okay.
The special conditions are, as added by the judge, that there is no contact with you all unless initiated by you all to Miss Misganaw, that she has to complete either a gun safety or an anti-gun violence course as well, that she remain employed or in school, enrolled in school, and that she have no further violations of the law. For Mr. Hassan, it is 3 years to be served on probation. It will terminate if he has done it successfully at the end of those 3 years, because that is the maximum allowed on a tampering with evidence felony charge. Has the same special conditions: no contact unless initiated by your family. He must have no further violations of the law. He must complete a gun safety or an anti-gun violence course as well. He must remain employed or enrolled in school as well. First offender means that if they complete the total of their sentence without any revocations or further violations of the law, at the end of their sentence, they are designated a first offender, which means that it will not be listed as a permanent felony on their criminal history. That is if you complete the total of your sentence with no infractions.
Madam Probation Officer, can you also include my regular, no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no replicas of weapons?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, I don't know that there's anything that the two of you could do to honor this victim, but I suggest both of you think of something.
Yes, Judge.
Your Honor, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How do we get the contact information from my client? How do I get that to the parents?
You email me. So if you all have my contact information, so you can email it over to me and I will be the go-between.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Madam Probation, they filled out their forms when they were here last
Yes,
week, correct?
information, just to shine some light on traveling. If you're going to travel abroad, it will have to be signed off by the Superior Court judge.
Well, that was specifically why we had asked to include that as part of the negotiated plea, and the state agreed to have it as a provision in the sentence. We're not claiming, Judge, that we can just tell.
Notified.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
The court still has to be notified.
So, Madam Probation Officer, just so I'm understanding it correctly, what would happen is they would notify you. At that point, the request would be sent to Judge Schwall and it would be signed off on, and once approved, then the travel is okay. But it has to be approved by not just probation, but also signed by Judge Schwall. Am I correct with that?
Yes, but if you're
Okay.
going to travel within the states, then it's local. And then your probation officer can sign off within states. But if it's abroad, it has to be signed off by the Superior Court judge. And travel arrangements should be provided at the time of the request.
Okay, that's fine. It's all doable.
So we would just need as much notice as possible, so that if Judge Wall's not here, I could sign it or another judge could sign it.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else from the state?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you all. Anything else, Ms. Woods? All right. Thank you all. Mom and Dad, I will keep you in my thoughts and prayers. And like I said, I personally will remember that beautiful face that's behind you.
Your Honor, may I add one last final thing?
Okay.
Yeah. Because Miss Misganaw is honoring or attempting to honor she talked about having some fulfilling life. She's applying to physician's assistant school. They need 2,500 to 4,000 hours of patient care in clinics, hospitals, medical settings. It's difficult. It's very difficult for her to get that because of the plea. I talked with Ms. O'Connor about sealing the plea. She talked about sealing it afterwards. Is there any way the court would consider sealing it now so she could apply for these clinic hours so she can hopefully get into this physician's assistant school?
To be clear, Your Honor, the state is opposed.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, Ms. Misganaw, I'd love you to be able to start your life and do that, but I just don't think I can do that right now. Um,
I understand.
and maybe part of that is when you do that you have to explain what happened. That may be part of what you just have to do for the next few years. And I apologize, it's gonna be hard on you, but it's not any harder than jail would be.
Yeah.
All right? All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Madam Court Reporter. Will you want me to keep this link? No,
Yes.
I'm gonna sign off, but we're gonna I'm gonna make Ms. Woods back the host. And thank you all. Y'all can be excused. And then I guess Judge Wall will be here in a few
Judge
minutes.
Wall will be coming in just.
All right,
just
thank
a
you,
minute.
Judge. We're going
All right.
to.
Thank you very much, Your
All
Honor.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.